Hey everybody, welcome back to Colin's Crazy Creatures. I'm here in Cleveland visiting Herps Alive, a reptile rescue. And this is Keith, the guy in charge of Herps Alive. So what is Herps Alive?
We are a 501c3 reptile rescue. We take in unwanted, neglected, and abused reptiles, amphibians, and invertebrates. We rehabilitate them, and then we attempt to adopt them out as legal owners.
So what exactly is a 501c and what difference does it make?
Sure. So a 501c3 means that we've been certified by the Internal Revenue Service as a public charity. What that means is, number one, it adds legitimacy to what we do, but it also allows us to receive donations. Donations from the public are tax deductible. It allows us to receive support from organizations like PetSmart Charities, the Petco Foundation, organizations like that, they're allowed to donate to nonprofits, but they're not allowed to donate to somebody who just puts out a shingle, puts out a sign and says, hey, I'm a rescue. Well, they're not eligible to receive benefits from those types of organizations.
Okay, so now seeing that you have adopted animals up for adoption, can I see some of the adoption?
Absolutely. Well, you've got one with you right there. This is a ghost pastel ball python. One of the things that happens is we do get, although most of the ball pythons we get in are normals because they're the most common, we do get some morphs, and the ghost pastel carries two different genes, and of course breeders are going crazy with ball pythons these days and all the different morphs that are available. So this guy is available. He's about a 3-year-old male, and so he would be available for adoption. And here we have a Russian tortoise. Russian tortoises are probably the most common of the land turtles that we receive in here at the rescue. So many of them are sold through the pet stores. And people don't realize that although they're relatively easy to keep, even a small tortoise like this is going to live for 40 or 60 years. So you get a tortoise like this for your 10-year-old, let's say. What are you going to do when he leaves for college? What are you going to do when she joins the marching band or gets involved in athletics? So we end up with a lot of these guys coming in, but they are pretty easy to care for. And because they're smaller size, they're relatively good pets.
So, on the note of common things that come in, what are the most common things you get in?
We get more bearded dragons than anything else. We are approaching 500 bearded dragons since we opened the building in 2014, at the end of 2014. A lot of aquatic turtles, of course, as you may have noticed. We get a lot of red-eared sliders, a lot of yellow belly sliders. We also get a lot of leopard geckos, and then ball pythons would probably wrap up the top 5.
So on the note of the most common, what are the rarest things you get in?
Well, yesterday we picked up an Asian water monitor that was found loose in a sewage pumping station. There's something that's a little bit unusual. We don't get a lot of Asian water monitors. We've had about a half dozen Leachiatus geckos, the giant Caledonian geckos. We actually at one point a few years back, as you called us and said, do you have any geckos available for adoption? We had Leachies, we had Chihuahuas, we had frilled tails, but we didn't have any leopard geckos available at that time. So this is a bearded dragon, and she's actually not available for adoption yet. She's still going through her quarantine process. Every animal that comes in gets examined by a vet. In the case of a lizard like this, she'll get treated for internal parasites twice. In the case of snakes, they have to eat frozen thawed prey twice. But bearded dragons come in because people lose interest when they don't realize how expensive they are to maintain.
So why do people give up their animals?
Well, there's a number of reasons. Sometimes their situations change. People lose jobs. They have to move. Maybe they move to an apartment that they're not allowed to keep the animal at. Sometimes the person just, like I say, loses interest or gets interested in something else. Sometimes they can't afford veterinary costs. We've seen a huge increase in what we call veterinary surrenders in the last year. Animals who really need veterinary care, but who the owners can't afford that care. So here we have a leopard gecko. Again, as we mentioned, we get a lot of leopard geckos in. They're very, very readily available animals, and sometimes people just don't want to spend the time on them.
So what do people need to do to adopt an animal?
Our adoption process is a two-step process. There's a written application that must be completed and approved, and then there's an in-person interview and interaction with the animal. Now that can happen in either order. Sometimes people have a specific animal that they want. They'll fill out an application for that animal, and then when that animal becomes available, they'll come in to meet them. Other times they'll come into the rescue. We are open to the public 5 days a week, and they'll see, for instance, this leopard gecko, just fall in love with them. And after interacting with them and talking to our volunteers, then they'll do the paperwork. So here we have a pink-bellied side-neck turtle. This is one of the rarer aquatic turtles that we get in for adoption, but they are really, really cool looking animals and relatively easy to care for.
So why is there a fee to adopt?
Well, it's really very simple. There's a couple of reasons. Number one, we have costs. We have to pay our rent for the building. Our electric bill alone is $1,000 a month. So we have those expenses. We have our veterinarians who come in. Every animal here gets treated by a vet or checked by a vet before it leaves. So there's the cost of medication and so on and so forth. But additionally, even when somebody comes across as being very sincere and they go through their interaction and their interview and they do their paperwork, we have to make sure that they're not looking to flip the animal. Our pricing is not retail pricing. It's not website pricing. You could say Morph Market or kingsnake.com type pricing. Our pricing is about 2/3 typically of what you would see there. And we want to make sure that people aren't adopting these animals strictly to resell them. And so we have a fee that's involved to keep that animal from going out in that case.
So how many animals do you have here?
Right now we have about 300 animals here, 100 of which are adoptable. A lot of that's disregarding most of the aquatic turtles, because again, we do have a lot of red-eared sliders and yellow belly sliders. But we get 15 to 20 animals in on average every week. We're on pace this year to take in 800 animals. We're going to adopt out about 600. So it's a constantly revolving assortment. So if there's something that you're looking for, if we don't have it, there's a good chance that we will have it in a couple of weeks.
And I would like to say that some of the animals that you see in this video may not be available by the time this video is published. And you don't just do adoptable animals, you also do outreach.
That's
So
correct.
this is the outreach
We
animals.
travel all over the country educating about reptiles and amphibians, and I'd be happy to show you some of our outreach animals.
Okay.
So this is one of our ambassador animals. This is Poncherello Pegon pixie frog. He's an African bullfrog or pixie frog. He's only about a third to a halfway grown right now. We don't handle the amphibians because they have moist permeable skin, and anything that's on our fingers could be absorbed by their skin. So when we take them to outreach, we display them in plastic containers as we bring them around to the audience.
I am wearing a bearded dragon.
And that's one of the things that's great about bearded dragons as pets, is they make great fashion accessories. This is Ophelia. She's one of our ambassador bearded dragons. As the most popular lizard in the world as far as the pet trade goes, we think it's important that we bring some of these common animals to our outreach events so that people can learn proper care, proper husbandry techniques, so that their animals don't end up with us later down the road. And we're here in our tortoise room. This is where we keep our sulcata colony when it's too cool for them to be outside. Right now we have 3 large sulcatas, 2 males in the 50-pound range, and then Colin is with our 80-pound female, Morla.
Sulcata tortoises are here and also at Jesse's at Forgotten Friends because when people buy them at reptile shows, they're very small. They think, oh, this is cute and it's small, I want to keep it. But then they don't realize that they get this big, they need a lot of room, and they can live for over 100 years. If you want a giant lizard, an Argentine black and white tegu is the best way to go.
There's no doubt about that. The one thing you have to remember is they do need large enclosures, so be prepared for that. But Argentines are almost all captive bred, so we're not putting pressure on wild communities, and they tend to have pretty good attitudes. This guy here is named Romeo. He's about 9 years old, and we've had him for nearly 4 years. When he came to us, his name was Lizard, and we had a contest to name him, and we came up with Romeo with one of our customers. So he's been Romeo ever since, and yes, he does have a Juliet. So this is an albino bumblebee ball python. When we do our outreach, we like to show a normal ball python as well as one of the morphs, just to show people how some of the crazy colors have been developed and to be able to explain it.
I hope when people watch this video, they'll be motivated to adopt instead of buy an animal. Thank you for showing me all these cool creatures and habits.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our channel, like videos, and stay next time on
Colin's
Crazy
Crazy Creatures.
Creatures.